It's like somebody has read your journal, including the parts you didn't actually write down. You can only put holy in front of so many words and think you're not swearing anymore. Oh, what a magical week it has been. A few of us actually went to the summer conference, which this year was in historic Asilomar. So we got to spend about 3 days back in the place that many of us used to go to every single year. And every single year, we would take over the entire, what they call, campground. It's my kind of camping. It's a resort. They'll make your bed. You actually have a bed. And private running water. These are important things. We got to go together from here and become connected again to something greater than we are. Now, it might have looked like me insisting on sitting up in the choir loft, because that's where the cool kids hang out. You guys, you think you're the only ones who insist on sitting in the back of the room. When I sit in the back of Merrill Hall, I sit way in the back. It was our time to hear really good music. It was our time to hear really amazing speakers. It was my chance to teach at Asilomar for the first time. I'm so honored to be asked. All of us were Facebooking madly in order to make sure that all of our friends back here in the real world were connected to us. If we are to understand that God is all there is, if we are to understand the obvious corollary, which is that we're part of God, it helps to have a few real-world experiences of it. So if you were at Asilomar, could you stand up, please? I think we only have 3 of the people, no, 4. And I know that Barbara was there. Ask them after service, because otherwise I'll just stand here and story tell the entire time. So thank you for representing all of us and volunteering and doing all sorts of wonderful things. One of the things that I learned is that we have to come together, we have to connect. As human beings, we must connect. As one divine being, we're already connected, but we need the human experience of it, right? That's why we still come together on Sunday morning, even though some people say that's old-fashioned. That's why some people are watching this online, because it's a way of being together in a new way. That's why this morning I reconnected with a minister who wasn't there and wouldn't know me from Eve, or Lilith for that matter. Reverend Raymond, forgive me, I think it's Anderson, wrote the outline for this week's talk. One of the things that we ministers do to help each other out is we have a shared theme, and then different ministers will take different talks throughout the year, and it really helps to get you going. It really helps to give you some quotes, give you some stories, give you some areas to research. And I'm using Reverend Raymond's this week, even though it wasn't scheduled for this week, because God knows that CSL ministers can't possibly follow the rules, right? So I woke up this morning and was ministered to online, and then came here to share it, and it just kind of keeps going out, right? Because at some point you're going to go out into the world today and interact with other human beings. Okay, I'm going to see you for prayer right after service. Right after service. Sometimes we join together in laughter, just like that. And sometimes it's kind of a rueful laughter, but sometimes it's just what is. Reverend, I believe it's it's Reverend David Bruner, who is well known in our movement for making people laugh and getting in really good messages at the same time. As he stood up to come out onto the Asilomar stage, he accidentally took his water and poured it in his lap. And it wasn't like he could say, hey, wait a minute while I go get some different pants. Those were his pants. So he came out and just shared why it looked like he had wet himself. And it became part of the talk. What he didn't tell us until later, kind of offline, was that it was the one thing you never want to hear as a male. The women around you looked at it and said, well, that's unfortunate. That's David Bruner fun. Now, sometimes we come together in silence, just like we did during the meditation earlier. We come together in silence because that's where we go beyond words, right? That's where we feel, or I feel anyway, this is how I experience, kind of like a fizziness in my blood that I know is the Divine Spirit, that I am connected to. It's what makes me know I'm safe. It's what makes me know I'm loved and supported no matter what. And it doesn't matter what it looks like, whether I've just had my chance to go out on the Asilomar stage and pour water all over aspects of my anatomy. Actually, it's how he timed himself. Once he was dry, he walked off stage again. In that silence, we come together. And when you have over 500 practitioners of this philosophy, whether they have the title practitioner or not, sit in stunned silence as Amy Bishop, who is one of the musicians that was there, does Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. There were people, not just with tears on their face, but full on weeping. And it wasn't sad, it was just a release. And I believe if you look on Facebook, you can still find this part where she stopped and all of us sang the Hallelujah part. And I had chills. And I want so much to give you the experience by painting a word picture, and yet I know that my words will not match that incredible, precious moment that we shared. It is the same thing with the divine. You must go there. You must go in here or in there in order to experience the divine for yourself. We can talk about it, but as David Bruner actually shared with us, let me give you a good mental equivalent. How many here know how to diet? Know what it takes to lose weight? How to eat healthy and exercise? How many of you actually do know what that entails? Maybe you've read a book. Oh, come on, guys, get your hands up. Don't tell me you've never been told, make your plate colorful. No, it doesn't mean put M&Ms on it. How many of you here have 1 pound that you'd be willing to lose? There's a big difference between having read the books and doing the work. So this month we are here to do the work. Actually, this lifetime we are here to do the work. Here in this center, we absolutely know that we must live this teaching in order for it to have an effect on our real lives, on the rest of our lives, our non-Sunday morning lives. This is a teaching you get to use on Friday night when you're going out on a date. This is a teaching you get to use on Wednesday afternoon when your boss says, I need to meet with you in private. I used to do that to my staff just so that I could have them have a different experience. I'd sit them down with the door closed and say, so, how you doing? Is there anything else I could be doing to support you? That was the entire conversation. And I wasn't doing it to be mean. I wanted them to start having the experience of not all authority is scary. What if we all saw the authority figures in our lives as completely supportive and loving? I am willing to bet many of us have had at least one experience where that was not the case. Okay, maybe more than one. So we come together, as I usually say, in the name of love. which is another name for God, in order to work out our faith, to settle our faith in a deeper truth, in a greater truth, so that the world as we see it out there becomes different. As Reverend Raymond said this morning in Baltimore, isn't it cool that we can share a talk with Baltimore this morning? I look a little different than him. He's taller than me. I have better hair. He's bald. He talked about how there are those in our movement who say, all we have to do is go to prayer, right? What do we do first? Oh my God, people. What do we do when we don't know what to do? Pray. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Foundations is starting this week. Please sign up. But as you go into the teaching, what you find is some people go to prayer and stay there. Now that is a beautiful act. That is a wonderful way of lifting up the consciousness. But Stuart, if you sat down here and just said, I absolutely know that there is one God, and that God comes in the form of light and sound, and you just sat there, do you think anyone could hear me? Well, even with my big mouth? Do you think anybody could watch this on YouTube if he didn't push the button? What we know here is that you treat and move. Thank you. You go out into the world and live from this place of absolute truth. Because here's the thing, guys. And Reverend Raymond had a great example of it that hit me this morning. I love it when somebody else rewrites my talk that I've written 3 times this week. And it happens at 9:45. And so it is. Or as we learned this week, and so it is. Imagine that we all live in the same apartment building. Can you see it? Dawn lives over here. I'm taking the penthouse. We've got a shared pool. We've got a shared upper deck. But you live in one, and you live in another, and you live in a third. We have this great big apartment house full of people with their own private spaces. Now imagine that apartment number 2B is on fire. What does that have to do with any of us? Everything. Guys, Mother Earth is on fire. And it has everything to do with us. Let me just back that up. We don't play the blame game here, okay? We may or may not be to blame. We are definitely responsible. I happen to believe the majority of climate scientists who say that yes, it's human behavior that has made this much, much worse. And yes, it is absolutely true that we don't have the 50 years we thought we'd have to fix it. And so I'm going to ask you to begin having a new relationship and a more active friendship with the earth. Earth stands for, and so we're going to take apart Earth. E stands for eco-friendly. We must learn how to live on this earth more in the tradition of what we call First Nations or Native Americans or the indigenous people, where we live so close to the earth that we cannot continue to bury poison in it. We cannot continue to kill the other animals, the other beings on it, without knowing that we have just lost a piece of ourselves. That's the apartment down the hall from us that we just set on fire. I took an online test because You know, I get days off. I can do stuff like that. I took an online test, absolutely sure I would ace it because it was all about how to be eco-friendly in your life and what you could be doing to be of support to Mother Earth. What I found out was that I have a lot to learn. What I found out was that I thought by buying a Prius, just because I wanted one too, I was actually doing the thing I could best do in order to not have a huge carbon footprint. Guess what? Does anyone know what the one thing you can, or even the top two things you can do to lower your carbon footprint are? I'm sorry?
No plastic.
No plastic, that's a good one, but that ain't it.
No meat.
No meat, that's number 2, actually, and it's not even no meat, it's no beef.
No beef.
Lower your beef intake is number 2 on the list. Number 1,
Battery?
I'm sorry?
Battery?
Mm-mm. I'm so glad you guys are stumped by this, because I know that you're educated too. Ride a bike. Nope, nope. Stop food waste. Yay! Stop it with the food waste. You know that thing of spinach that you bought 2 weeks ago just so you could throw it away? Because you weren't really going to eat the salad, you just wanted to buy it so you'd feel better. Oh wait, that might be me. Anyone else find all their greens in the back of the fridge and like, dang it, I did it again, I accidentally ate the ice cream in front of it. Reduce your food waste. Stop wasting food. You will save money. You might accidentally eat a salad. But reduce food waste is the number 1 thing. Lower your beef intake is number 2. And yes, some people go to the go as far as removing all animal products from their lives. And that's a beautiful thing. I've tried it. I will try it again, probably a few times before I get it right. But there you go. A in Earth, E-A. A means awake. The class I taught at Asilomar was originally called shadow dancing. And I had to change it to shadow work so that nobody came in their leotard or whatever. I ain't doing that. You're welcome. We were talking about those parts of us we don't want to know about. Those parts of our own psyche that we try and pretend we don't have. Both the good and the things we have judged as bad. Behind that is all the stuff that we don't even know that we don't know. But Spirit will put it in front of you if you will be awake and aware and to have that as part of your life. So I ended up in a conversation about, I just realized that my cats are 9 years old. And I had this, I've never lived with a cat its whole life. But I've had these 2 since they were kittens. And 9 is starting to sound a little old in cat years. And so I talked to a friend who will be a minister very soon. And Elijah told me, no, his cats are 13 and 17 or something, and they act about 10 years younger. Why? Because there's certain foods they should be eating. Raw meat, that's it. That's what he says. That's what his holistic vet says. They should be eating raw meat because that's what they would be eating in the wild, and his cats should live into their 20s or 25. And so I was sitting there at home with my cats who forgave me for leaving, and I was sitting there looking at little Joe's perfect little sweet face. Here's a little face, it's so cute. Why am I feeding him crap? And then I had to wake up to the idea of, I don't feed him the highest possible quality because I don't even do that for myself. There is a series of uncomfortable awakenings. I got up and went and took a shower because I didn't want to think about it. But there are layers upon layers, and if you think you're the only one who is still finding stuff they have to work on, let me explain to you, no. If you're still in one of these meat suits, you still have stuff to work on. R is respectful. How do you demonstrate to a friend, to a child, to a parent, to your boss, that you respect them. There are things you do that are just natural to you. What would it take to show the same respect for the earth as you do for your boss? I mean, you can get another boss. If you can get another earth, I'd like to know about it. As many of us have seen the meme, there is no planet B. T is for tender. I would love to see us be as gentle and tender with our own growing process, our own learning process, as we are with watching children learn to walk. You don't smack a kid because they fall down, right? I mean, I used to teach parenting. I'm pretty sure that was never in the book. You help them up, you get them going again, you coo, and you celebrate every step they take on their little tippy toes. I love how they do that on their tippy toes. There is an indigenous saying that says, "Let us walk softly on the earth with all living beings, great and small, remembering as we go that one God, kind and wise, created all." Now, I thought that was part of an old Catholic hymn, but I grew up Catholic and thought everything was part of the Catholic tradition. What it reminds me of is the Eleanor Roosevelt quote that says, "When will our consciences grow so tender that we will act to prevent human misery rather than avenge it?" What can we be doing that is proactive, that is healing? Whether it's riding a bike or taking some meat out of our diet or not using plastic or you guys have all the information, right? I mean, there have been PSAs all over the place about things we can be doing to protect the earth. Once upon a time, there was a minister who said, if religious science was outlawed tomorrow, would there be enough evidence to convict you? Would there be enough evidence in your life that you walk this talk to convict you? I would ask you to do the same kind of consideration for religious science and this philosophy as you do for the idea of being eco-friendly. If it became illegal tomorrow to be eco-friendly, to care for Mother Earth, would there be evidence to convict you? And while I will not preach politics from up here, I will say that us participating in our own democracy, it's not really, it's a republic, but let's just go with it. If we don't participate in our own democracy, it's kind of like sitting down here in High Watch and never turning on the microphones. Call your Congress critters and tell them what your opinion is. Not my opinion, not somebody else's opinion, your opinion. I know that all of you know how to write a letter because I have been told several times that written thank you notes are a good idea by people here. You can do snail mail, and it will get to your Congress critter. We get to learn how to have uncomfortable conversations here about our shadow side, about what we're doing, about what we truly believe, about the places that we think we're falling down. And then we're supposed to take it out into the world and teach our brothers and sisters in the Christ consciousness how to do it with love, being for something and against nothing and no one. And so in this moment, I would ask that we consider building up a rap sheet that says that we are eco-friendly and spiritual beings. And because the most spiritual tool I know of, the most powerful tool I know of is our form of prayer, I will go into that now. And for those of you who are new, I pray from here so that you have a visual of how equal we are. I'd sit down, but then nobody would see me. So join with me now in consciousness, and you can close your eyes if that's how you do it. And we remember that there's one power, and it's safe to surrender ourselves, our small selves, to that. Just like a child relaxes and puts her head up against a mother's or a father's shoulder and just goes to sleep. I surrender now to that greater consciousness, to that greater truth. And I invite you to take these words as your own, as I'll do the entire prayer in the first person. I am one with the divine being. I am indwelt by a life, a love, a power, and a peace that fills me up and is an unending source of support. It surrounds me. I breathe it in with every breath. There is no way to be separate from this divine, this godness, this goodness, this goddess. There is only that good. And in this moment, I soar on the energy of all beings everywhere who are awake to their own God being. Because that's the H in earth, is holy. This is holy ground because we are here. This is holy ground because it is divine. And in this moment, we treat it that way. And so I know that everything in my behavior is a reflection of these truths. And so every time I look out into somebody's eyes and I see the Christ or the Buddha, I treat them that way. And it is because Spirit is alive in me and is guiding me in every thought and impelling me to right action. I absolutely celebrate this good, that we are all supported in doing a wonderful, beautiful job of creating healing on this planet and in this planet. I bless this truth and I accept it as our new physical reality. That we are one, that we are cooperative with one another, that we choose to make our voices heard in the marketplace as well as the temple, because they're both holy. I bless it all and call it good, and accepting this good, I invite you to say with me, and so it is. I invite you now to stand and sing with me as we let all of that energy just drip down over us in a gentle blessing.